Welcome to another deep dive, everyone. I'm so excited for this one
Oh, me too.
because this time we're taking a deep dive into American and Indian literature, and we're doing it in a pretty unique way.
Yeah.
Instead of just talking about, famous books or authors, we're going to be using a literature quiz that was actually created by a professor as our guide, and it's packed with fascinating details, so get ready for some serious aha moments.
I think aha is an understatement. I mean, just glancing over this thing, it covers so much ground. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it really highlights, just the incredible depth and variety within both American and Indian literary traditions.
For sure.
It's like a treasure hunt for literary gems.
I love that.
Speaking of gems, some familiar names popped out at me right away. We've got Mark Twain, or Samuel Clemens, as he was born, Ernest Hemingway,
Of course.
and Harriet Beecher Stowe. Their works are practically woven into our cultural fabric, right?
It's no wonder those names jumped out at you. They represent like really pivotal moments in American literature,
Yeah.
Think about Twain's like sharp wit and his social commentary, and then you've got Hemingway's like that stark and modernist style.
Yeah.
And then the way Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin just ignited the abolitionist movement. I mean, these are huge. Their works continue to like spark debate and inspire readers even today.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's not just the big names that are on this quiz. There are some real surprises, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
One question asks about Jack London predicting fascism in his novel The Iron Heel. Did you know about that?
Oh, absolutely. London was a passionate socialist, and his beliefs definitely like infused his writing.
Right.
And in The Iron Heel, he paints this like really chilling picture of an oppressive oligarchy crushing a socialist uprising.
Yo.
It's called The Iron Heel. That's what they're called in the book. And what's striking is how he portrays these subtle ways that they maintain control. Like, think about it, propaganda, manipulating the media, even using philanthropy to mask their true intentions.
Wow.
It's a warning that feels eerily relevant today. Wouldn't you say?
Totally. I mean, it makes you think about how authors can be so insightful about the future.
It's really amazing.
All right. Here's another one that caught my eye. There's a question about Tennessee Williams
Okay.
and something called the Theater of Gauze.
Oh, yes.
What is that exactly?
Well, the Theater of Gauze, it's sometimes called plastic theater. It was Williams's way of like breaking free from those traditional theatrical conventions.
Okay.
So he used transparent sets, suggestive lighting, and symbolism to create a dreamlike atmosphere. It's almost like he's like peering into the subconscious minds of his characters,
What?
You can really see this in plays like A Streetcar Named Desire,
Right.
where the fragmented setting mirrors Blanche's fragile mental state.
Wow, that's such a cool detail. I never thought about the staging that way.
Yeah.
Okay, one more from the American side before we move on.
Okay.
There's this question about Lady Macbeth always carrying a light
Yes.
in Shakespeare's Macbeth. What's the significance of that?
That's a great example of how Shakespeare's influence goes far beyond his own works.
Right.
The question kind of hints at the psychological depth of Shakespeare's characters
Yeah,
and how they just continue to resonate with writers across time and cultures.
right.
Lady Macbeth carrying a light, it isn't just like a stage direction.
Right.
It's a visual representation of her tormented conscience.
Wow.
Even though she's trying to hide her guilt from the world, she just can't escape that darkness within.
So it's like a metaphor for her inner turmoil.
Exactly. And you see similar explorations of guilt and ambition in many American plays.
Very interesting. All right, ready to cross the globe and dive into some Indian literature.
Let's do it.
Okay. This quiz has some really intriguing authors from India, starting with R.K. Narayan
Oh, great one.
and his novel The Bachelor of Arts.
A classic.
Have you read that one?
Oh, yeah, I love that book.
Yeah.
Narayan is often credited with like bringing Indian literature to a wider audience.
Okay.
His stories, they're set in this fictional town of Malgudi, and they capture the essence of everyday life in India. But what makes him so compelling is that he doesn't shy away from exploring those like universal human experiences, the
Right.
joys and sorrows, the search for meaning, the complexities of relationships.
Right.
All that makes his work relatable to readers from all walks of life.
Absolutely. And then there's Nirad C. Chaudhuri.
Okay.
The quiz mentions two of his autobiographical works, The Autobiography of an Unknown Indian
Right.
and A Passage to England. Sounds like he had a pretty complex view of Indian culture.
Chowdhury is definitely a controversial figure in Indian literature. He was a sharp critic of Indian society. Sometimes he was accused of being too pro-Western in his views. The autobiography of an unknown Indian offers a kind of a nostalgic look at pre-independence India, while A Passage to England reveals his evolving perspectives on British culture
Ah,
and his own sense of belonging.
it seems like he was constantly wrestling with his identity and his place in the world.
Absolutely. And that tension is reflected in his writing.
Right.
He admired certain aspects of British culture, but also criticized what he saw as the shortcomings of both the East and the West.
Interesting. Okay, and of course we can't forget Salman Rushdie
Oh, of course not.
and his epic novel, Midnight's Children.
Yes. That's one of those books that's been on my reading list forever.
Oh, you got to read it. Midnight's Children is a must-read.
I know.
It blends magical realism with historical events to paint a vivid portrait of post-colonial India.
And Rusty's prose is just so vibrant and playful.
Yes.
But at the same time, he tackles these really serious themes.
Yeah.
Identity, memory, and the birth of a nation.
Yeah.
One of the most fascinating aspects of the book, I think, is how he uses that magical realism to weave together those personal stories
Yeah.
with the grand sweep of history, showing how those individual lives are shaped by these larger forces.
It's so much more than just a historical novel, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a reflection on the human condition. It's about the power of stories and the ways in which our past shapes our present.
So we've touched on some major figures in American and Indian literature, but this quiz is more than just a who's who,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It also delves into different genres and literary movements.
For sure.
Let's move on to poetry, shall we?
Ah, yes, the realm of verse, where language becomes music and emotions, they just take flight.
The quiz has American poets like Robert Frost, known for his evocative nature imagery,
Right.
Walt Whitman, the father of free verse,
Yes.
and Robert Lowell, a pioneer of confessional poetry. It's amazing to see how each of them shaped American poetry in their own unique way.
What's interesting is how they each captured the American spirit. Yeah.
But from these totally different angles,
Yeah.
Frost's poetry reflects a deep connection to nature and rural life.
Right.
While Whitman's work celebrates the individual and the ideals of democracy,
And
Lowell, he delves into the complexities of the human psyche. He explores personal struggles with unflinching honesty.
And on the Indian side.
On the Indian side, we have poets like A.K. Ramanujan,
Okay.
Dom Morris,
Yes.
and Vikram Seth,
Oh, yeah.
whose The Golden Gate is a unique novel in verse.
Yes, it is.
It's really inspiring to see such diversity in both literary traditions.
Absolutely.
It's truly remarkable how these poets writing in English brought these fresh perspectives to the literary world.
Yeah.
Ramanujan's poetry, it often explores themes of cultural identity and the immigrant experience,
Right.
while Moraes' work reflects his personal journeys and observations.
Interesting.
And then you have Seth, who pushes the boundaries of form with The Golden Gate, a novel told entirely through sonnets.
It's a testament to the creativity and innovation within Indian literature.
You know what I find so interesting about this quiz, though, is that this quiz doesn't stop at just listing authors and works. It actually delves into the nature of literature itself.
Right.
It poses these questions about storytelling,
Yes.
imagination,
Uh-huh.
and the value of studying literature.
That's one of the things I love about this quiz. It invites us to think critically about why literature matters. It's not just about memorizing names and dates. It's about grappling with big ideas, exploring different perspectives, and connecting with something larger than ourselves.
So what does all this mean for you, dear listener? Why should you care about these American and Indian literary giants?
Well, I think this deep dive highlights how interconnected literature truly is.
Okay.
Whether we're reading about small-town life in America or the complexities of post-colonial India, we're ultimately exploring those universal human experiences that transcend borders and time.
It's like we're all part of one big conversation, sharing stories that connect us across cultures and generations.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know what really blows my mind? That even a simple quiz can unlock so much insight and spark such a deeper appreciation for literature.
For sure.
It's like each question is a key that opens a door to a whole new world of discovery.
That's a great way to put it.
Each question invites us to dig a little deeper.
Yes.
to think a little harder
Uh-huh.
and to appreciate the richness and complexity of these literary landscapes.
Right.
And there's still so much more to explore.
Absolutely.
Speaking of exploring, we've only just scratched the surface of this quiz. There are so many more intriguing questions and fascinating authors to uncover, so buckle up, because our deep dive is about to get even deeper.
I can't wait to see where this literary adventure takes us next.
You do.
Stay tuned. You know, what's fascinating about this literature quiz is it doesn't just like test your knowledge, It really encourages you to think critically about the works and how they reflect the world around them.
Right, like each question is a springboard for a deeper analysis.
Exactly.
Like, remember that question about Lady Macbeth and the light?
Yeah.
It seems like such a small detail, but it actually speaks volumes about her inner turmoil.
Oh, totally. It's a powerful symbol of her guilt and her inability to escape the consequences of her actions.
Right.
And it reminds us that even in a play written like centuries ago, the exploration of human psychology is like timeless, still relevant.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about some of the heavy hitters in American and Indian literature, but this quiz also delves into some lesser-known territory.
Yeah, it does.
There's a question about The Untouchable by Mulk Raj Anand. I have to admit, I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, well, Anand was a pioneering figure in Indian English literature. The Untouchable is a really powerful and unflinching look at the caste system in India.
Oh.
It tells the story of Baka, a young man who faces constant humiliation and discrimination just because of his birth.
That's awful.
What's so striking about the novel is the way Anand captures the psychological impact of this systemic oppression.
Right.
Baka yearns for a better life, but is constantly reminded of his place in society. It's heartbreaking.
It's a reminder that literature can be a really powerful tool for social commentary, shining a light on injustice and forcing us to confront these uncomfortable truths.
Absolutely. And Anand's work continues to resonate today as we grapple with issues of inequality and discrimination around the world.
Speaking of powerful stories, there's also a question about Kamala Das and her autobiographical work, My Story.
Oh, yes. Kamala Das. She was a fearless writer who challenged societal norms and conventions.
I like her already.
My Story is a raw and honest account of her life, her struggles, and her exploration of female sexuality and desire. It caused quite a stir when it was first published, but it also paved the way for more open and honest conversations about women's experiences.
It's incredible how literature can spark those kinds of conversations and challenge those traditional ways of thinking.
It's essential, and Das's work played a crucial role in giving voice to women's perspectives and experiences.
Another author who pushed boundaries was Raja Rao.
Oh, yes, Raja Rao.
The quiz mentions two of his works, The Serpent and the Rope and The Cat in Shakespeare.
Rao was a master of blending philosophy, spirituality, and storytelling.
Wow.
The Serpent and the Rope, it delves into the complexities of, East-West encounters, exploring themes of cultural identity, love, and the search for truth.
Deep stuff.
And then, The Cat in Shakespeare, on the other hand, is a more philosophical work.
Right.
It uses a seemingly simple narrative, but it explores these really profound ideas about life, death, and the nature of reality.
His work sounds incredibly thought-provoking.
It is. Rao's writing is not always easy to digest, but it really rewards the reader with a deeper understanding of the human condition.
This quiz really is a treasure trove of intriguing questions. One that really got me thinking was about the ideal scientific language being purely denotative.
Oh, yeah.
Made me wonder about the differences between scientific and literary language.
That's a great observation. In science, the goal is often objectivity and precision.
Right.
Words are used to convey specific meanings without ambiguity.
Right.
But in literature, language is much more fluid and evocative.
Yeah.
Authors use metaphors, imagery, and symbolism to create layers of meaning and to evoke emotions in the reader.
Right. It's like science aims to explain the world, while literature aims to explore the human experience within that world.
Exactly. And that's why we need both, right?
Yeah.
Science helps us understand the physical world, while literature helps us understand ourselves and our place in it.
Well said. And speaking of understanding, there's another question that asks about translating our experience of literature into intellectual terms.
Yes. That gets to the heart of literary analysis. It's about moving beyond our initial, emotional response to a work.
Right.
and engaging with it on a deeper level.
Right.
It's about asking questions,
Mm-hmm.
identifying themes, and exploring how the author uses language and literary techniques to create meaning.
So it's like taking that initial feeling and trying to articulate why it resonates with us, right?
Precisely. It's about connecting the dots, seeing the patterns, and uncovering the layers of meaning embedded within the text. And this process of analysis can really deepen our appreciation and understanding of the work.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion to reveal its hidden complexity.
I love that analogy. And as this quiz reminds us, literary study is a dynamic and ongoing process. There's always more to discover,
Yeah.
more to analyze, and more to appreciate.
You know, I'm already feeling inspired to revisit some of these works with fresh eyes, to see what new insights I might uncover.
That's the beauty of literature. It's a journey of discovery that never truly ends.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from American classics to Indian masterpieces, from the intricacies of language to the complexities of human psychology.
It's been quite a journey.
What's standing out to you so far from this deep dive?
What fascinates me is how this quiz, through its seemingly random assortment of questions, it reveals the interconnectedness of literature. We see influences across cultures, echoes of ancient myths in modern works, and these timeless themes that continue to resonate with readers across generations.
It's like a tapestry woven from these diverse threads,
Yeah.
yet forming a beautiful and cohesive whole. But there's one question that I think might be the most thought-provoking of all.
Oh.
The one that asks about the two important functions of literature that are not, in fact, pleasure and utility.
Ah, yes. That one really makes you stop and think.
It does.
If literature isn't just about, enjoyment or practical use, then what is its true purpose?
What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a question that has been debated for centuries. But perhaps literature's true function lies in its ability to expand our understanding of the human condition, to cultivate empathy, and to connect us to something larger than ourselves.
It's about nourishing our souls and enriching our lives in ways that go beyond mere pleasure or practicality.
Precisely. It's about fostering a deeper appreciation for the beauty, the complexity, and the wonder of the world around us and the world within us.
I love that. It's a beautiful reminder that literature is not just a subject to be studied, but a source of endless fascination and enrichment.
And as we wrap up this portion of our deep dive, I can't help but think about the concept of flat and round characters mentioned in the quiz.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds us that just like the characters we encounter in literature, we too are multifaceted beings,
Right.
constantly evolving and revealing new layers to ourselves and to the world.
I love that analogy. It's like we're all characters in our own unfolding narratives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're all works in progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Constantly being shaped by our experiences and the stories that, we encounter along the way.
That's such a powerful way to think about it. And just as a skilled author can bring a character to life through vivid descriptions and compelling dialogue, we have the power to shape our own narratives
Right.
through the choices we make and the stories we choose to tell.
Before we wrap up this literary adventure, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the idea that literature can cultivate empathy.
Yes, I think that's a crucial aspect of its power. When we immerse ourselves in stories and step into the shoes of characters from different backgrounds and experiences, it really expands our understanding of the human condition.
It's like literature offers us a window into the hearts and minds of others.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to connect with people we might never meet in real life and to develop a deeper sense of compassion
Right.
and understanding for, those who might be different from us.
Absolutely. Literature can be a powerful bridge between cultures, perspectives, and even time periods.
It's true.
It allows us to see the world through these different lenses.
Right.
And to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all.
I couldn't agree more. So as we turn the final page on this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will carry with them?
I hope they'll remember that literature is more than just words on a page.
Oh, for sure.
It's a living, breathing entity
Yes.
that has the power to move us, to challenge us, and to connect us to something, larger than ourselves.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And to echo that sentiment, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question inspired by the quiz itself.
Okay.
If you could add one question to this literary exploration about any author or work from American or Indian literature, what would it be?
It's a wonderful question. It's a tough one. But I think I would ask, If you could have dinner with any character from the works we've discussed today, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh, wow, that's such a fantastic question. I'd love to pick the brains of some of these literary giants, to hear their perspectives on life, love, and the human experience firsthand.
Imagine having dinner with, like, Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye,
Oh, yeah.
or Salim Sinai from Midnight's Children. It would be like stepping right into the pages of our favorite books and having a conversation.
That would be amazing.
Right?
It would be an incredible opportunity to gain insights and inspiration from these characters who have touched our lives in so many ways. So, dear listeners, we leave that question with you. As we conclude our deep dive into American and Indian literature, we encourage you to continue exploring these rich and diverse literary landscapes.
Yes.
Pick up a book, delve into a poem, and keep those imaginations soaring.
Happy reading, everyone.